tell you what, I am definitely not in my underwear reviewing this movie right now. Hey guys, welcome back to News to the Sonics, where we discuss comics, movies, games, and more. And I just got back from watching Black Widow. I went to a late night showing. I went at 9:15 p.m. Went to go see the movie with my girlfriend. Love to say that I had a great time seeing this movie, and it's a good movie to say the least. That being said, there are criticisms that I do want to throw in there, and I promise I won't keep you here for long. So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and click on bell notifications so you don't miss anything. I post videos on a daily, and I do live streams, at least from time to time, and I hope to be getting back to that very soon. And join my Discord. The invitation link to that is in the description box below. Anyways, Black Widow, starring Scarlett Johansson. You already know how it is, man. You know, like for those of you who've been watching all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies that are canon, obviously, you already know the fate of Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow. Everybody is great in this movie. Okay, Scarlett Johansson is great. Florence Pugh, a fun addition to the movie, is fantastic, who plays Yelena. And she's going to probably be more or less a future Black Widow. Minor spoiler, but that's what it looks like this movie's going to be alluding to. And all the other additions like Rachel Weisz and, of course, David Harbour, who I love. If you guys have seen Stranger Things, definitely check out this movie. You're going to have a blast. The characters are fun. The action sequences are great. They deliver, pretty much standard, generic Marvel Cinematic Universe action, which really shouldn't be called generic because a lot of the action in those movies are fantastic. So the action in this movie is pretty good, to say the least, as well. It really goes to show that this movie doesn't really need well-known superheroes like Thor and Captain America and Iron Man to deliver a fun, thrilling ride of a film. And this movie does that. Now, also, I just want to point out something else. If you've ever read any single review about this movie, you went online reading about what critics are saying about this movie and how it's getting mixed reviews, don't listen to that, because the critics, where they say that it's kind of mixed or the movie's not good, it doesn't really line up with the actual film. Because personally, I had a great time. Now, my opinion may be different from you, but this movie is not as bad as what people are making it out to be, honestly. It is a fun time, and it's a perfect, good solo movie. It really takes an origin story of the Black Widow character and then meshes it with what's going on in present day. If you guys don't know, this movie takes place shortly after the events of Captain America Civil War. It really does do a good job explaining more and diving deeper into the origins of the Black Widow. This review won't have any spoilers as well. Sorry to mention it at least 2 minutes and 58 seconds in, but I'm just letting you know I'm not going to get too deep into spoilers. It is about 1 a.m. right now at the time of me recording this video. Black Widow is a great time. It does a phenomenal job delivering the action sequences, explaining the origins of the Black Widow character, starting with how it opens up, with variation of Nirvana's "Smells Like Teen Spirit," and basically Black Widow's family is a fake family living in the Midwest, in America, in Ohio, and they have to take off because they've been compromised, and the girls, being Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, and her sister Yelena, get taken into the Red Room. And there is where they become, they start their training and to become these femme fatale assassins. And it kind of shows quick snippets of pictures of these Black Widows having to be around the world the entire time. They're basically spies. And this movie is kind of like an espionage spy action movie. And it's the perfect one. It has a bunch of women in action, basically killing people around the world, killing dangerous people, killing corrupt people, basically. And it's just really cool to see how characters like Black Widows, because there's more than one in this movie, have been around the entire time. And this is actually one of the things that I love about Marvel movies, where we get to see people out there the entire time doing things like this, like espionage and killing and stuff like that. So it was really cool to see this. Now, where this movie kind of falters, and it's part to blame about the release, because this movie should have been released a long time ago, preferably before Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. As you guys know, if you've already seen this movie, and spoiler alert, because Endgame's already been out for a couple years, you can totally tell I am not wearing pants. Because you just heard me slap my legs right here. You can tell what exactly happens to Black Widow. You know her fate. going into this movie. So that's actually kind of the reason why, and it was in the back of my mind as to why I wasn't exactly, and particularly too excited to see this movie. But this movie would have made more sense if it had came out earlier, like preferably right around, I guess, the second Captain America movie or something like that. But again, in the timeline where it fits in the MCU canon, it takes place shortly after the events of Captain America Civil War. Like literally like a few weeks after those events. And it finishes right before the events of Avengers Infinity War. I mean, we see Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, in her Infinity War outfit where she has the blonde hair, in the Infinity War outfit that she's wearing. And there's a lot of key moments in that movie that are really important. Now that when you go back to watch Infinity War, you're like, I know why she's wearing that, and I get that reference now. So, to say the least, the movie is only decent if you already know the MCU canon. Like, if you've seen every single Marvel movie before Black Widow, the movie is only fairly decent. It is still a good time. It is a good action-packed movie. But it's just good. It does have errors, like it does have flaws in the movie. Now, the character of Taskmaster, that was a character I was looking forward to, but sadly I was a little bit disappointed with how this character was executed. I thought it was not executed too well. They did a bit of a swap with something, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I was disappointed because the Taskmaster character in the comics, I'm very familiar with that character, and he's a very formidable opponent, especially where he's gone toe-to-toe with a lot of familiar characters such as Spider-Man, Wolverine, Black Panther, and even the Avengers. The Taskmaster in this movie is a very formidable character. However, they kept him quiet. They kept this character quiet in the movie. They also did a little something with the origins where they tweaked it. And I kind of saw this coming from a mile away. I had my suspicions about this character for quite some time. And if you've seen this movie, you probably know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, why did they do that? I mean, does the real Taskmaster exist out there? Because it was why did we get that? But aside from that, I mean, the movie does falter in a few things, specifically of when this movie was released. Again, if you've seen all Marvel movies and you go see this movie afterwards, the movie doesn't feel so exciting. I feel like Marvel Studios released this movie only because the fans have asked for it, but it took them a while to release this movie. And no thanks to the pandemic, this movie was supposed to come out a little over a year ago. It wouldn't have been better if it did get released over a year ago, because the post-credit scene at the end of this film would only make more sense if it came out about a year ago. And I'm referencing the Disney Plus series, such as Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and you'll see why as well if you see this movie as well. But aside from that, this movie is a decent action movie. Is it necessary to watch if you're gonna be marathoning all Marvel Cinematic Universe films? No, but it is a welcome addition and expanding the lore of the MCU canon, but not really necessary to watch. Is it a good flick? Hell yeah, it's a good flick. It is a good popcorn flick. That's what it is, really, when it comes down to it. It is just a good popcorn flick. And that's what it is. If you want some action, you want a strong female character, go watch Black Widow. Definitely. And if you're a fan of all things Marvel Studios, watch Black Widow as well. It is a pretty good movie. It's a good time. I had a great time. No major complaints. Just my criticisms towards this movie were kind of minor. Overall, I didn't have such a huge problem with this film. The only, I guess, one gripe I have with this, and Marvel Studios is still weak at this for the most part, because they've delivered great villains. Taskmaster's not the major villain of the movie. He's not the main antagonist of the film, just the side antagonist. They didn't do too much with that character, and that kind of bothered me a little bit. But the main villain of the film had this weird thing with pheromones and a bad scent. Kind of played a role into the film in some way. It impacted the story, and the character was just weak and disposable, because when you have the fate of the Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff's character, when you have the fate of the Black Widow in the back of your mind, you feel like none of this matters. It's just an event. It's like a one-off in a comic book series. When you read comics, they always release events or one-offs or spin-offs of a character story. that you don't really care about, but you're pretty much kind of curious about, you go ahead and watch it or read it in this case. That's what this movie feels like. It's like a one-off. Like it's like a one shot, but only for 2 hours. So overall, movie's great. Definitely watch it. I think you will like it for what it is. Depending on who you are, if you've never seen any Marvel movie and you want to marathon all the Marvel films, watch it in the specific order that I'm telling you about. So if you go to Disney Plus, they actually have the Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline in chronological order according to the movie's, time and setting. So this takes place after the events of Captain America Civil War. So it fits in that timeline. So when the movie comes out, it'll be placed right there. So you watch it right there, then watch the Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. But if you're going to do it that way and you've never seen any MCU movie, do not watch the post-credit scene of Black Widow, because it'll just spoil everything for that character in particular. Because for those of you who've seen the movie, you know the fates of the Black Widow. Anyways, that's pretty much my review of Black Widow, guys. Great time. I'd probably give the movie a solid 7.5 out of 10. I think it's a fair grading. What did you guys think of it? Did you enjoy Black Widow? Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. And that's all I got for you tonight. Good night, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to head to bed. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click on bell notifications so you don't miss anything. As always, I will see you all in the next comic panel.